Welcome to the Tiny Home blog, brought to you by Tiny Home Geniuses, normally presented by Kathleen and Peter, but it's Peter flying solo today for this first episode. We're bringing you tips and ideas and news about the tiny home movement and links to find resources for your own tiny home development. Today's post is talking about tiny homes acceptance and the NIMBY factor. Tiny homes acceptance is one of those things it's hard to be neutral about. Searching the internet, most commenters are either big supporters or rabid opponents. There's very few people in the middle with a sort of not for me but good luck to those that like them attitude. So there's a few reasons for this polarization. A perception that tiny homes occupants would have lower standards, the old class thing. Concern about the negative effect on property values in surrounding areas. Increased crime, an increased demand for municipal services, changing the tone of the neighbourhood. The tiny home movement is an ideal target for the NIMBY factor. This not in my backyard motivation stirs up strong emotions in normally quiet, law-abiding and tolerant people. It rears its head when change or unwanted developments are forced on neighbourhoods that had previously not considered them. And this can be opposition to building power stations, wind turbines, shopping centres, airports, prisons, rehabilitation clinics, unusually designed buildings or even tiny homes. We can agree that all of these are necessary, generally good for the community, and they should be built, as long as they're built somewhere else, not in my backyard. It's understandable to anyone who's had their neighbourhood disrupted, or people who've read about it. Most of us would not want a power station, prison or factory built next to our neat, conventional, I missed a bit there, suburban residence. We'd not want an unconventional new housing development anywhere near us if we feared it would degenerate into a slum. Some legal battles over tiny homes acceptance. There's a big battle going on at the moment over accepting tiny homes in Wichita, Kansas. Developers have approval from the city to build 90 tiny homes on a 15-acre parcel of land which is bordered by existing houses valued between $300,000 and $1 million. Despite the opposition from other residents, the city council voted 7-0 in favour of the development. There's a link in our blog post to a story on KWCH 12. The councillors must be congratulated for their bold stand, but I suspect the battle's not yet over. It's not all bad news, though. In Bucksport, Maine, approval on an application by a resident to build a 576 square foot tiny home, the first for the town. There's a link in the blog post to the Bangor Daily News for the full story. Another good story comes out of Springfield, Missouri, where Eden Village will soon receive its first tiny home occupant. This project will house 31 formerly homeless people in 400 square foot, 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom homes with kitchens. The homes cost around $30,000 to build, and the cost is kept down as most of the work is being done by volunteers. 14 homes are already under construction. The first resident, Tommy Yarbury, about to move in. Residents will pay $300 a month rental. The balance of the estimated cost for all services of $550 a month will be met by donations. The Springfield News, as a link in the post, carries the full story of that development. It goes to show that tiny homes acceptance is possible when the need for affordable housing can be met without making nearby homeowners nervous. So my conclusion is that tiny homes acceptance can be difficult when existing property owners feel threatened. City and town councils need to be sensitive to the needs of developers and homeowners. It's possible for tiny homes developments to coexist with conventional homes, and economic and environmental factors will increase the demand for tiny homes in the future. Whether you want to live in a tiny home yourself or could not imagine doing so, there's a strong possibility that the tiny homes movement will affect you in some way. You, your children or your parents could be forced to move into a tiny home for financial reasons, because you want to lessen your impact on the environment, live off the grid, or follow a different lifestyle, or a tiny home development might spring up in your neighbourhood. Where will you stand when the protesters gather? For tiny homes acceptance or against? So that was our first podcast, and if you want to read the blog, go to https, it is a secure site, tinyhomegeniuses.com, and thank you for listening.